And in Nollywood, rising filmmaker Desmond Obiageli is set to bring to the big screen the strength of the human spirit and will in a new movie that chronicles some of the plight of victims of insurgency, militancy, banditry, and other security challenges in part of sub-Saharan Africa. The new movie, The Milkmaid.
From juvenile delinquent to detective.
Following an impressive response to his debut caper movie, Render to Caesar from 2015, investment banker turned filmmaker Desmond Obiageli is back with a sophomore movie titled Milkmaid. Milkmaid follows a rural Fulani milkmaid in sub-Saharan Africa in a quest of reuniting with her sister, whom she was separated from by the activities of the local religious militants in the region.
Well, I was looking for a story that addressed some of the social issues in our environment, not just in Nigeria, but also in sub-Saharan Africa. We know that for the last 10 years, we've been dealing with incidences of insurgency and extremism, which have affected several thousands across the sub-region. So I was looking for a story that could capture an angle of that phenomenon that's currently going on in the West African sub-region in particular. You know, and the film really and the story was really inspired by the Nigerian 10 naira note. And if you recall the 10 naira note, at the back of the note, you have two Fulani milkmaids. And those milkmaids, the story is actually a creative imagining of what if those girls got caught up in an extremist situation, how their lives turn out. So the two main characters of the film are actually those two girls on that note. One is called Aisha, one is called Zainab, fictionally. But those are the two main characters of the film.
Although the story itself is not set in any particular real-life community, it mirrors the security unrest faced in sub-Saharan Africa and typically the northern parts of Nigeria, making the movie to reflect a bit of the security challenges, especially at this time when kidnapping, banditry and terrorism plagues select parts of the country, requires extra research.
Menene kike so?
Na neman yar uwata.
Menene zaki bada?
Mu kuma za mu koya miki yadda ya kamata har ki ce da mu kin gode.
Na yanke shawarar zan aurar da wannan mata.
Ba za ki bi umarni na ba. Daga mi ita daga nan.
Idan ta mutu ma?
I think I did a lot of research before I started writing the scripts because obviously I live in Lagos State. I'm very far removed from the people who are actually experiencing these things. So I needed to immerse myself in that world. What goes on, where do they live, you know, what are their hopes, what are their aspirations, how did this phenomenon, how does it impact them, and what are their lives after it's impacting them. So I read probably over 300 articles on the insurgency situation just to try and immerse myself in the situation so that when I'm writing the story, you know, I'm writing about situations and scenarios that are credible. And you know, I mean, these are human beings, both on the victim side and on the side of the perpetrators. You know, but in many cases, there are people who are indoctrinated, they are misguided, you know, and they have distorted views in terms of their beliefs. And in somewhere, you know, they get, you know, the ammunition to actually pick up, you know, weapons and try and enforce their own worldview, not just on themselves, but also on innocent people. And that actually is the root of, you know, what I read in my research in terms of how things are going on.
While the Nigerian film community operates chiefly from the southern part of the country, mainly in Lagos, Nigeria's southwest, Asaba in the south-south, plus Owerri in the southeast, Obiageli takes his production to Taraba State in the northeast, where there have been significant records of security incidents.
I mean, to be fair, our focus for the story is on the victims. Yeah? And really what we're trying to show and portray in the film is the psychological and emotional impact of what they go through. Now, issues in terms of indoctrination and all that, of course, we have to touch on those themes in the film, but that's not our focus. Our focus really is to try and raise awareness with the film of the plight that the victims go through, both those who have been killed and those who are still alive but are languishing in various IDP camps in the country without anybody really shining a spotlight on their situation and how they can get them out of that situation. So that's really the focus of the film. The indoctrination is just part of the, it's part of the context of the story, but the real story is the emotional and psychological plight of the victims of the story.
The Hausa language-based drama is about two sisters whose lives are shattered by an insurgency and gender-based violence, with a special focus on the understated plights of the victims, mostly women and children.
Taraba State, I knew as a state in Nigeria. What I didn't know was that it had such a beautiful landscape. I mean, I saw some pictures of the state on the internet. I didn't believe that was Nigeria. And someone assured me that go there for yourself and check it out. I went there to do reconnaissance. I was amazed at the wonderful, wonderful landscape. I mean, the state is richly blessed in terms of topography, and I was very convinced I needed to shoot this particular story in Taraba State. Invade the state with our filmmaking equipment. Of course, we had to reach out to the government to let them know what we wanted to do, what our hopes were. And they were quite keen to support us because they knew that we were going to showcase their state in all its beauty to not just a local audience but to an international audience as well. So they were quite supportive in giving us the requisite permits and all that to shoot the film. In terms of the people themselves, of course they were excited. They had never, there is a filmmaking industry there, but of course it's on the local level. We came in with heavy, high-powered, people and equipment and ammunition. Cinematographer came down from the UK, Gaffer came from Kenya, so they hadn't seen this level of production there before, and they really took it to their hearts and were very, very cooperative.
Milkmaid will get a limited cinema release in Nigeria later this year.
Nace ina yake? Nace ina? Ga mu nan.
An gargaɗe ku, kada ku haɗa kai da sojoji. Kun ki ji.
Me kike nan? Ka sa matata ta wanke shadda?
Matanka? Na manta ce.
Ki ci gaba da aiki. Ki shirya kamar mace ta gari. Ina zuwa anjima da dare. Zan turo miki kayan sawa.
Me kuke yi? Kuna son mu waye gari da ku anan ne?
Don Allah. Mun fagaji.
Me kuka yi wanda za ku ce kun gaji? Duba iya abin da kuka yi tun da aka waye gari.
Haba. Rabon mu da abinci tun jiya fa ba mu ci komai ba.
Abinci. Mu fa muna son mu koya muku yadda musulman kware suke yin azumi. Ko da shike. Na fahimci mamanki ta koya miki wawan tarbiyya. Mu kuma za mu koya miki yadda ya kamata har ki ce da mu kin gode. Ku ci gaba da aiki.
Muna bukatar abinci.
Me kika ce?
Muna
Bankiya.
Tanko.
Me kike jira? Sara mana. Kon taya ki ne? Sara.
don Allah.
Kin bar damanki. Nan gaba idan ina magana kika sake mayar da min martani. Ku kuma me kuke kallo ne? Ku ci gaba da aiki. Sai lokacin da na ce muku yayi.
Ki sauri mana. Da haka ya ci gaba.
Well, moving on, the wait for The Milkmaid, a movie that made it to our top anticipated Nollywood movies for 2021, is over as the highly rated movie finally premieres in Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Now we'll bring you details from that premiere in this next report.
With total compliance to the COVID-19 protocol, movie enthusiasts, industry colleagues stepped out for the exclusive premiere of Desmond Obiageli-directed movie The Milkmaid in Lagos.
Well, it's the reality of our lives, isn't it? If not for ourselves who are living in the relatively safe parts of the country, certainly for a lot of our fellow citizens who are exposed to these risks, to these dangers. And I felt as a filmmaker, I had a responsibility to use the openings and the opportunities and the platform that we have to give a voice to those who really can't speak for themselves, really. So that's informed the choice of this topic.
It is very timely. Of course, with all that is going on in the country, in the northern part of the country, just like the producer and the director mentioned, it's important that these voices are being amplified through the medium of film. You know, because most of the time, you know, we don't just know these people. We just hear the statistics. So and so number of people died. You know, you don't know what they aspire to be. You don't know where they're from. You know, and we've developed like a thick skin, you know, to issues like that. You just hear there's a bomb blast, the people's lives died, and everybody's just moving on like it's a norm. It's not supposed to be a norm, you know. So it's important as filmmakers that we begin to tell, you know, our truth for the world to see. You see, so this is very timely, and I'm not surprised that it was nominated, you know, as the Oscar film from Nigeria.
Koma yadda muke da.
Ba za mu iya ba. Babu ma wanda zai iya.
Immediately I saw it, I knew it was going to be a great movie when I saw the script because, you know, it's emotional. You know, it's except I don't know, people don't experience what the Northerners. Imagine what happened to those children at Kankara just a few weeks ago. If you are the parents and nobody's willing to tell their story, you know, and someone is willing to go to that land to tell the story of what is actually happening. This is just a tidbit of what's actually happening up north. he was willing to make, was bold enough. I love his boldness for him to be able to, because imagine, only Chimamanda did something close to the I Remember, Half a Yellow Sun, to tell the Nigerian story, but he was able to take the bull by the horn and tell the story of what, imagine, nobody has written a story about the Chibok girls. Do you know that? And no, people are just, so these are the kind of people we need, people that will tell the stories of what is really actually happening in Nigeria.
The acclaimed film, which tells the story of two Fulani sisters whose lives were torn apart by insurgency, bagged 5 awards at the 2020 Africa Movie Academy Awards and recently was selected for the 93rd Oscars in the Best International Feature Film category.
I think Milkmaid won Best Overall Film this year, so they must have had the cinematography, the script, and the technical sides of it. As I think Marianne Booth won one of the acting areas as well. So yeah, it really is about the quality of the film and the process in which it's done. So I think if you look at The Milkmaid, it's a very well shot film. It's got good directional style. I love the cinematography in it as well. The thing with the Oscars is that it needs to be lobbied for, and I'm praying that Nigeria can get behind it and lobby and do the needful. So the push needs to come so that we get to the short list.
Well, the Oscar, as you know, is extremely competitive. I mean, for the category we're vying for, which is Best International Feature Film, I believe over 80, if not over 90 countries have all made their submissions, out of which the Oscars will now shortlist to 10 films in February, and then further 5 films in March. So that's a very, very competitive process. Every country is putting their best foot forward, are putting their resources behind their representative to vie for the ultimate prize. So we're praying that Nigeria also does the same for The Milkmaid.
Set in Mambala Plateau, Taraba State, the movie stars Antonietta Kalunta, Mariam Booth, Gambo Usman Kona, and others.
Idan ta mutu ma, haka Allah ya so. Ki shirya kamar mace ta gari.
In zan tuna, lura da Zainab shine manufana a rayuwa.
Koya miki yanda ya kamata har ki ce da mu kin gode.
Na yanke shawarin zan aurar da wannan matan. Ba za ki bi umarni na ba. Daga mi ita daga nan.
Idan ta mutu ma, haka Allah ya so. Ki shirya kamar mace ta gari. Ina zuwa anjima da dare.
Hakan ya tabbatar da cewa aikin mu mata ba kuka kawai da kula da gida idan mazan ba su.
Ya matarka.
Koma yadda muke da.
Ba za mu iya ba. Babu ma wanda zai iya.
Welcome to the Milkmaid. Tonight is going to be an exceptional night. This is Nigeria's first Oscar submission, and we're hoping it will be a fantastic success.
The Milkmaid has been submitted for the Academy Awards, so I'm excited to hear that. And as a supporter of the arts, I thought it would be great to brave all the issues and challenges and be here in person to watch it. And I found out I know Desmond, the director, from his years when he used to be a banker. Now he's turned movie producer, so it'll be quite exciting to see how the movie is.
I've seen certain clips of the movie, and from what I can see, the cinematography seems to be quite fascinating. So I'm expecting to see, the beauty of the Nigerian landscape, Taraba State in particular, where the film was shot. So I'm expecting to be dazzled.
Nollywood has come such a long way, and I expect that I'm going to see beautiful storytelling, an interesting film that tells a beautiful story and that leaves me feeling something.
I heard about the movie from the makers of the movie and I've seen it. So there's no expectation. Yeah, I've already seen the movie, and it's a great movie. It's amazing. It's the kind of movie that doesn't just entertain you but educates you and enlightens you, and also exposes your mind to a lot of things, beyond what your eyes can see.
I am extremely proud of the efforts that my brother has put into, and his team have put into making this a reality. It's a very, I think those who watch the movie today will be pleasantly surprised at the skill, the artistry on display, the sheer genius as far as I'm concerned. But you might say I'm biased, so let me stop there. But I just think all those who are watching for the first time should come prepared to be surprised, because like I said, I'm not a stranger to this effort. So I've had the privilege of seeing it before now.
I got to know about this premiere exhibition of this film, Milkmaid, from my Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. So I just felt I should be here and see what the film is all about.
I want to see the cinematography, I want to see the story, I want to see how this brilliant film was made tonight. So that's my expectation. I want to be blown away. I know I will be.
This film won Best Film at the African Movie Academy Awards 2020. So it's we're looking forward to it doing good things at the Oscars. So I'm hoping that it can get some of the funding support it needs for the lobbying that is required.
As a Nigerian, I couldn't help but feel very saddened about what was going on in the Northeast. And I felt as a filmmaker, I had a responsibility to at least make a contribution in terms of what I felt was happening over there. All you read about are the statistics of how many people died in the papers. You don't know their names, you don't know where they came from, what they aspired to as human beings. We, in a very little way, try to use the film to at least put some flesh, put some faces, and some emotions behind who these people are.
The movie you're about to see has already been picked, and for the Academy. And this is amazing. It's not just something we should just look as a regular, achievement. What you're about to see might win the Oscars. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you The Milkmaid.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's very well produced. The scenes, the characters, the dialogue is really world class, and I'm really excited about this movie and really hope the best for it at the Oscars.
The picture quality was great. The performances were surreal.
The Milkmaid was I think the first thing that caught me was that it was gripping.
I'm very excited about the film because it's not the kind of film that you regularly see from Nollywood, so it's different and it captures the emotions that we really need to see. It captures the story that we really need to be talking about, and that's the story of insurgency. We see a lot of these statistics, we see the numbers, these people have died, but we really don't know their story. We're not intimate with their story, and it's impressive that the director, who is also the writer, I believe, decided to pick a story like this and work on. And I wish it all the best at the Oscars.
Kudos to Mr. Desmond Obiageli, the writer and the director of this film, for telling such a beautiful story, beautifully casted, beautifully directed, beautifully shot. I'm very, very proud of this, and I hope that it continues to do well and keep the flag of Nollywood flying high.
Action! The story of the Milkmaid is a story of two sisters who are living their lives as milkmaids in the village, and the younger sister is in the process of getting married, and that wedding happens, but right in the middle of the wedding they encounter an attack by extremists and get taken away from their village, relocated to the camp of the extremists, and there they undergo the process of indoctrination and basically a new way of living which they are not accustomed to. So the story is about how the sisters adjust to the new situation they find themselves, and how those interactions and that encounter affects their lives and affects their relationships between themselves and the wider society. The idea of the story was to take a look at some of the victims of the insecurity situation in the country. Now, we've been reading about various reports of casualties of insecurity in the country, but what we don't usually have are stories behind the people involved in this crisis. What we see are the statistics, 10 people died, 15 people died, 50 people died. But we get to know nothing about these people as human beings, their lives, their loves, their desires, their hopes. So the film really aims to train a spotlight on the lives of the people caught up in the insurgency situation in the country. Now, basically, I did a lot of extensive research across, primarily online, with some interviews with some people connected to the insurgency. But there's a lot of material online, a lot of material from various agencies and stakeholders involved as either security officers or as welfare agencies, AIDS workers, and the victims themselves. So a lot of material was gone through to try and arrive at what I hope to be a very credible and authentic depiction of the people involved in the crisis. Writing scripts is never easy, and it took a lot of research to be able to come up with the final shooting script for this film, because I had to read probably over 300 articles on the security situation or the insecurity situation. I just began to get the world in which this story was going to take place. One of the biggest obstacles obviously is raising financing for the film, trying to finance the film with this storyline in Nigeria and trying to do it on an international level. That is not a sort of local level where it's sort of, to use a derogatory phrase, cheap and cheerful, but trying to do things correctly in every department, from script to screen, the costumes, the props, the actors involved in it, the quality of the camera you're using, the lenses, the lighting, all this costs money. So trying to cobble together a budget which adequately catered for all these elements of production to international level was definitely challenging to raise that money.
The writer and director, Desmond Obiagele, is a childhood friend. And we were talking about the movie, which you may have heard of, called Black Panther. And at which point I said to him, at some point in your career, I hope you will be able to put out a movie like this. At which point he shot back that, okay, if you can get us funding for such, and then I'll produce it for you. So I asked him if there was any projects he was working on, and then he told me about the Milkmaid and sent me the script. Upon reading the script, I was extremely impressed. I was impressed because of the storytelling, the ups and downs, and the unexpected twists in the plot. So immediately I was fascinated, and the subject matter has really captivated me. And I said, this is a story that needs to be told. More so, it's an African story being told by Africans. And I place a lot of value in that, in us being able to tell our own stories. So from then on, I was fully signed up.
The Milkmaid is a local language film. So it's predominantly in-house language, some elements of the Fulani language, Fulfulde, and also some elements of Arabic as well, because that is the natural language for some of the characters in the film. So choice of cast was predicated on the languages that we've spoken of. So many of the more prominent and popular Nollywood actors are not in this film because it's a Hausa-speaking film. So we essentially had to gravitate towards Kannywood, which is the Hausa-speaking aspect of Nollywood. And the characters there and the actors there informed our choices in terms of cast, as well as the general audition which we conducted for the film. A couple of them came aboard around about the same time. One of our lead actresses, Miriam Booth, was one of the first cast to come aboard this project. She read the script, she really liked it. Then we had a general audition, at which most of the other roles were also cast for the rest of the film. The obstacles of funding are the typical obstacles in funding Nigerian films. How am I going to get my money back if it's not a comedy? And this is not a comedy. So we had to show people what we're trying to achieve with the story in terms of the value to our nation, telling a story which is very relevant, which is very pertinent to what's going on in the country. And having seen the quality of the cast who are involved in production, having seen the quality of the crew who are involved in production, that helps to convince investors that if we put in money into this project, they'll actually get their money back, and hopefully a multiple of that as well.
My name is Mariam Booth, and I'm playing the role Zainab, Aisha's younger sister. She goes through a lot in the course of this entire performance. She views life as it is. She prefers freedom, and she's protective though. But in as much as she's protective, she wants to be at home. She still wants to be free. She wants to learn things her own way. She doesn't want to be taught about who she is or what she should do. She believes that what is right or what is wrong comes innately. It's not something that would just be taught or given to us by religion or anything. She believes that instinctively she knows what is wrong and what is right.
And this is the first time I'm involved into a movie of this international standard. So, just like a dream come true. I know this was my dream when I was a kid. Now I'm in my dream.
We're Fulani, and we have a lovely, lovely family. My dad and my mom, then my sister, before everything turns around during my wedding.
Well, our aim, our target in this production is to shoot a film which can compete not only locally but also internationally as well. And that necessitated very experienced hands in every single department of this production, particularly the very critical departments. And every department is critical, really. But starting with the principal photography, the cinematography of this film, very important. I had somebody who was very experienced, not just experienced, very ambitious in terms of the visual look of the film. So when I was about to shoot this film, when I finished the script, my very first choice of director of photography was Yinka Edward, who I had heard about, we had met, we had discussed. We were looking for a project both of us could work on together. And fortunately, he had some free time and he came down to shoot this film. Well, I think we're quite fortunate. People seem to connect with the script, and that's always very helpful, because once people connect with the script, then that's half of your negotiation and convincing done. You know, they can see the story, you feel attached and connected to the story and impacted by the story. So actually, that helped that people from the word go haven't read the script. We're able to connect to the project on that level.
I got a call from Pat Nebo, production designer, to alert me that I was going to get a call from Desmond, the director. I've worked with him previously in the past on his other movie, and we shot the Render to Caesar 2012. So it was amazing that I got called again for this one, and I looked forward to it before even reading the script, because I knew that he's such a great scriptwriter. First of all, the first research you do is the one you do online, where you try and gather pictures from all kinds of places to kind of help you with the characterization of the characters and the characterization of the actors in the movie. But there's no research as good as the one you do on ground when you come. So when I came on ground, I did more research. Just basically taking pictures in the market, going to huts of people, just observing the people around. I think that was like the best experience ever. And it was really good for me. I asked questions also from people that from some actors, and they were willing to help.
And the first thing I did was to make a research on Taraba itself and the culture we're portraying in the script, then the people affected by the insurgents. And after that, I was able to have a background of what I'm coming to do on the set as a makeup artist. Using your makeup to tell the characters, not by dialogue, but by their face, the way I made them up, speaks for each and every character.
Quite a lot of people think Hausa and Fulfulde are the same language because people call them Hausa Fulanis, but it's not the same. The fact is this: Fulani is a different language, while Hausa is a different language. Almost all people that understand Hausa language do not understand Fulfulde. Equally, there are a lot of people who understand Fulfulde and cannot speak Hausa as well. Therefore, these are two different languages. So, I really had it very difficult to teach or to coach those ones who understand Hausa language how to speak Fulfulde.
the mountains.
We've been to the
We've
valley.
been to the forests.
To the valley.
The only place left is the underworld. Mira.
I would say the thing that attracted me the most working on this project, well, of course, like from the start, was the script. From reading the script, I could just tell it just had so much depth. You could tell that it was well researched. The characters were well, had a lot of depth to them, and so that just attracted me straight away. The fact that it was also going to be shot outside of Lagos meant that, it was going to be a scenic film and not, so claustrophobic. And just, I guess the fact that it was also a different language. So the challenge, I would say, attracted me.
Okay. I worked with the director, Desmond, some years back on his previous project, Render to Caesar. So he called me and he told me about the project, is the reason for the project, the impact of the project on the society and the world at large, and that felt very compelling, besides the art of the movie itself. And later I saw pictures of the movie, I saw some scenes of the movie, and the background, because I grew up in the North, so that took me to some part of my childhood, which was nice for the project, was nice for me, and I'm pretty sure it was nice for him too. And then it wasn't just another film of, okay, people just acting. It has a social impact. So all that factors put together, I just had to say yes to the project. Yeah, it was pretty challenging getting to explain musically to people how conservative an Hausa person is, and which, of course, in so many projects I haven't done that in a while. And then the nature of Hausa music, and like you can also tell one thing about Nigerian music. For most culture, you can dance, like you can take a Yoruba music and an Igbo music and you pretty much use the same dance. For an Hausa music, you can't use those dance steps. And even right now, you can tell that there isn't so many popular Hausa songs, like Hausa pop music, because it's quite challenging translating those cultures into the mainstream urban, because the culture itself is conservative. So once it goes to a certain tempo, a certain rhythm, it becomes, no, this isn't us anymore. And working on the project has that feeling that most time I have to pause and think, okay, it would be nice to, it would have been nice to do that, but it will just cut us off the feeling, and then the music won't be consistent. So it was quite challenging in that area of expressing those little cultural differences.
Well, Taraba, as you could probably see behind me, is one of the most beautiful locations in Nigeria. It's got wonderful hills, it's got wonderful valleys, wonderful rivers and lakes and streams. And, I thought Taraba would showcase and depict that contrast between all that is best and beautiful about this country and then some of the acts of insurgency and insecurity in the country as well. So it's really just sort of a visual contrast between what's beautiful and what is on the other side of the spectrum. Well, obviously Taraba is part of northern Nigeria, so you do have some exposure to the desert. And with the desert comes some extreme conditions in terms of wind and in terms of thunderstorms. We've actually had half of our sets, which is set up, we were about to roll camera, and that set was destroyed by a very severe thunderstorm preceded by a sandstorm. So these are elements of climatic conditions which affect our shooting. That's one of the issues we have with shooting in Taraba State. In addition to that, just getting some of the locals here comfortable with us bringing a camera into their situation and pointing the camera and shooting. Because of the insecurity situation, people are nervous whenever strangers come in and start to set up equipment and see them carrying props and this and that, and having to reassure them that this is just a film and we're actually trying to showcase their culture, to showcase their environment, but eventually they get the hang of it, but that communication needs to take place. Gembu obviously is one of the most beautiful places in Nigeria. But one of the reasons why it remains the most beautiful place in Nigeria is because it's not accessed frequently by many people. it's actually difficult to access. It's a 7-hour journey from the state capital in Jalingo all the way up the mountain to Gembu. But once you get there, it's worth your while. But the journey there is not easy, not just moving cast, but moving heavy equipment, heavy trucks with generators up the mountain to go and shoot there is indeed a very expensive and challenging task. But by the grace of God, we're able to do so.
The locations are so far apart, so we have to do like serious travel. And sometimes I travel and I get there, I have to film that same day. I have to sort through the costumes. I have to make sure. Sometimes I'm meeting the locals / actors for the first time. So there's a lot going on all at once. But well, with experience.
My experience filming has been fun and really tasking, especially physically. I've had to climb mountains, stay long hours, milk a cow. I think it has been fun and tasking. But in all of that, it has been experiential because I've learned a lot. And I think the more this production progresses, I'll do better because I'm getting more comfortable with what is expected of me and what I should do, what steps to take, and how this should go.
Well, the moment I saw the director of this project, I don't need an angel to tell me that it's a successful project. It's a man who has a vision, and it's a man who is focused. You saw a lot of level of commitment in him, and that is what makes me to devote my time to almost spend 24 hours in this project with you every day.
He's just a person that wants the best. He can squeeze you out no matter how long it takes to bring out the best in you. Because whenever he sees you, he knows what he can deliver. And he will never stop until you've given him that best.
A couple of our crew buses were apprehended at the checkpoints, and when the security officers there inspected our cargo, to their amazement and alarm, they saw some of our costumes and our props which were en route from Lagos to Jalingo to enable us shoot the film. Immediately they detained the bus, they detained the items, and our crew had to spend up to about 5 days in detention while the officers were trying to sort out exactly who these people were, where they were going to, and where they were carrying such what they considered sensitive materials across several state borders en route to Taraba State.
When we got flagged, that was the second bus. We now turned back. When we got there, to our greatest surprise, everybody was being paraded on the ground. They were like criminals, and we were asked to join them. People in the community started coming out, trying to see what was going on. Before we knew it, some of them were taking pictures and videos. Somehow they overcame the policemen that were there. The policemen couldn't control them any longer. So suddenly a priest appeared from nowhere. I know, he looked like a Catholic priest to me. He incited the public and he was like, these are the people killing our people. Please do something about this. He felt that maybe if we were actually the real killers of people in their community and the police should take us away, maybe we will bribe them and they will let us go. Maybe that was what he was afraid of. So the people tried to, lynch us. But somehow some of us maneuvered our way. Like I, for one, I ran to the police van and I told them that they should take us to their headquarters. Somehow, I don't know where the other guys were. So everybody had to, find his way out of the incident area. One driver that was beaten mercilessly, he was looking like, just half dead on the floor. His face was swollen. He couldn't breathe. Blood was gushing out of his nose. The commander came to me and he told me that what really happened between us and the community. I told him that nothing happened. Because he now said that the report, that got to his office was that we came to the community and overthrew the community and started killing people. And I told him that nothing like that happened. After that, we were thinking they would let us sleep outside. We didn't know that they would treat us as criminals. So later on, a command came from somewhere, I don't know. We just found ourselves being ordered to enter the cell. When we got into the cell, we saw criminals, hard-hitting criminals. Some of them were even the headsmen killing each other. We literally stood up, sleeping standing from that night to the morning period. We were standing, we did not, lie down, so we were sleeping, we were dozing off standing.
We weren't able to shoot, obviously, because all our costumes were on that bus, in addition to key props. Eventually, we were able to sort that out, but that was a very, very trying and challenging aspect of our production, and everybody was worried.
I didn't feel discouraged. I actually wanted to move on with this. I wanted to end the story very well, and I decided to stay back to travel with the team to Taraba. The first word that came from someone from the production was the production manager. He said that you guys are the heroes of this movie. That touched me, and I felt the urge, to participate in this.
Obviously, that episode actually cost us, not just in terms of money, but also in terms of some of our equipment and props which are destroyed in the process of the apprehension.
It's a clarion call to all movie makers that no matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, keep the faith, keep doing this, because it's the right thing. If we don't tell these stories, people will not know about them. It was a terrible situation, of course, yeah, but we have to move on. We have to keep doing this.
My hope with this movie is that it draws attention to the victims of the insurgency as human beings in their own right, and also helps people understand how people, normal people, innocent people, can get caught up not just as victims of the insurgency, but also as perpetrators of the acts of insurgency themselves.
People have been killed, with just no reason. People will go to their farms and they don't come back alive. So this movie is, I don't want to believe that it's just about the quality of the film. Pay attention to the message. I think that is what this movie is trying to achieve. If you pay attention to the message, you will get the message, and that is going to help us in this country, because some people don't actually know about this. If you travel outside this country, most people don't know about this. So I believe that this movie is going to tell our story, tell the story of Nigeria, tell the story of what is happening in Nigeria, and I believe that is what this movie is trying to achieve.
The impact I would like this film to that I know that it will have, it's not what I like. Like, the script is so great, the message is so profound. I know that we're going to shock people with the visuals of this film. I mean, this story has been told before, but never in this way. We're going to shock people. We're going to make people wake up. We're going to make people see what is going on around us.
My hope for the film is that it goes really far, because it touches on a lot of contemporary issues. So I believe in the dream, I believe in the vision. And since I see the amount of effort put into this movie to make sure that we achieve excellence, I believe it will do well.
So we need to shine a light on this matter, and that is my aspiration for the Milkmaid movie. That's to bring the engagement, the sensitivity to the issue, bring the popular culture to come to recognize this as something that is happening that should not be so.
We can tell proper, well-grounded stories in Nigeria, and there are lots of stories in Nigeria because it is based on, true people's stories, Yeah, so hoping that it can somehow influence people in, doing something about many people who are being, displaced on a daily basis in the North, and in other places of the world. But then also that people can just see that art can be made, from Nigerians. It was Nigerians who made the film.
History will be made on that day that the film is finally out. Kudos to Africa, kudos to Nigeria, kudos to culture, values, and norms.
Sunana Gambo Usman Kona.
Sunana Antonietta Kalunta.
Wato Aisha da ita da kanwarta Zainab sun rabu ne a yayin da 'yan bindiga daɗi sun kawo musu farmaki. Ita Aisha din kuma ta ɗau alwashin sai ta je ta nemo kanwarta duk ko ta wani hali saboda wasiyan babanta ne ya ba mata kan duk inda aka shiga duk komai ya ta tabbata ta kula da ita Zainab.
Haka Allah ya so ki shirya kamar mace ta gari ina zuwa juma'a da dare.
Ina cikin 'yan bindiga daɗi amma mai kyakkyawan zuciya wanda a ƙarshen zan zo dai in faɗa soyayya da ita Aisha wanda ta zo neman kan wanta.
Ya matarka ta fita nema kamar kullum.
Muna iya bin hanyar zaman shahidai.
A fim ɗin to ni gaskiya ina neman kanwata so I will do anything to get Zainab back.
Hakan ya tabbatar da cewa aikin mata a kuka kawai da kula da gida idan mazan ba su.
Wato a Afirka maso yamma akwai ƙasashe da yawa wanda 'yan bindiga daɗi suna kawo musu hari. To hakan yana sa yawanci mata su suka fi shiga cikin munanan hali. To an yi wannan fim ne saboda a nuna ma duniya ga halayen da mata fa suke shiga da wasu a sanadiyar wannan bindiga daɗi saboda masu kawo taimako su san inda za su kawo taimako su taimaka.
Menene kike so?
Sakon shine because most times we feel like the victims of war and insurgency are usually the men. We feel like the victims of war are usually the men, the people who have died. But we forget the fact that these women who are actually left behind go through a lot. So playing the role of Aisha and what this movie portrays with Aisha and her sister is these women and what they get to go through when they are left behind. They have to give themselves bodily to these people. They have to lose everyone they've loved, everything they hold dear. So it's passing the message that when it comes to rehabilitation of people who have been villagers who have gone through all of this, we have a lot to do to rehabilitate them back into communities.
Muka zo muka yi audition muka kare sai na aka ce ni ne lead character. Ba zan iya boye farin ciki na ba. Saboda abinda kake mafarki ne akwai wasu a ce duk mutane da stars da ake da su gefen Hausa da Turanci da su waye a zo a zaɓe ni kaɗai. To zan gode ma Allah ne saboda shi ne ya zaɓe ni ya ga kuma bautan da na dinga yi ma entertainment da sauransu.
Honestly, I was excited. Also, during the auditions, I didn't think I was going to be the lead character. I was auditioning for maybe a supporting role or something. But then when I was called to say, okay, I would play the lead, and I saw what it entailed. And even when I was being asked, okay, can you handle it? I felt, oh, of course I can. But coming on set and saying that I had to be in almost every scene, all of the hitches we had to go through, all of the scenes, all of what Aisha in the script went through, I had to go through in real life because for most part of it I was shooting almost all day and all of that, and it was really hectic for a bit, but it was exciting because from what the director was saying, I could now see that this was not just any story. We're telling a story that mattered about salient issues, and this is going to be a movie the world would love.
Wato a cikin fim din mun yi shitin fim din a lokacin da ana azumi. Akwai ran da zan yi wani sin hannuna a daure kuma zan yi gudu a jeji lokacin da zan escape. A ran nan ciki na tashi da motsewan ciki. Motsewan cikin nan ya yi yawa har sanda na sha azumin nan. Kuma a ranar din da yake za a spending more than 20 hours ana hada set. I have to force myself. Da na sha magani na samu na dan je dan kaure sai na fita. A jejin da zan yi gudu nan kuma ba takalmi a kafana. Akwai kaya. Zafin kaya din kamar irin kurungu ne suke ka. Ga hannuna a daure hukun goro akai a baya. Haka dai na dinga gudu kuma da yake ana so a fitar da best of that scene. Za ka yi ka sake kafin na gama kafana yayi tsami. Next thing din kuma haka inda muka je guduwa din still ga duwatsu. So at the end of the day na samu sprain a ɗayan kafa na, but na daure na yi ta yi haka din da don fitar.
na gama na yi zazzabi na wurin kwana 3 amma na san these are what some actors go through. So Jackie Chan, Rambo, da all that. Wasu stitches a fiskansu, wani a karye, wani a samu dislocation da sauransu. And basically me, I want to be a stunt actor, and that's what I've been practicing all around. So I know this is one of those things. Amma alhamdulillah, mun gama filin yayi.
Wanda na ji an ce zan je Taraba, ni kuma ban taba zuwa Taraba sai na auditions din, to na ce to an ce a Taraba akwai wasu matsala, so but I went and then it turned out fine. We were safe all through.